Hey, everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy and Alonso here. We've made it through another week, and Christy's got all the headlines for us to discuss.
I do, but first I've got to begin with a couple of quick corrections.
Oh.
Because if you guys watched our Oscar episode from a few days back, I give you some bad information, and I want to make sure I clear it up before we move on.
Okay.
First of all, Licorice Pizza is not streaming. So I was doing quick research on all the Best Picture nominees, trying to figure out where folks can see them at home right now. And I saw something that said Licorice Pizza is streaming on like Vudu. Anyway, I should have looked closer. It's not. Okay. Paul Thomas Anderson wants you to go to the theater and watch it in 70 millimeter. So that's one thing. Also, tú tienes razón, mi amigo. Es dos oruguitas. Dos oruguitas. Yes, they are caterpillars. And I hadn't heard the song in a long time from Encanto. I should never correct you on your Spanish.
You know what? did not feel secure enough to shoot that correction down. So that's on me too, believe me.
No es una buena idea. So anyway, you are correct. The song, the Oscar nominated song from Encanto is Dos Oruguitas.
Yes.
Still should have been Bruno. They made a bad call with that one. I think.
Oh, by the way, before we get into it, a quick reminder to everybody, please subscribe here on YouTube, click the bell to get notifications, and notifications there are, because we discovered that, we could be doing polls. We could be doing like quick, short things. Like we're digging in. So you don't want to miss out on any of it.
Thank you for that. Yes, we love seeing you. Okay, so a bunch of news. As I mentioned, we had Oscar nominations on Tuesday. We went into it in depth then, so please go and find that video. We'll link to it here. Our good friend Glenn Whip was there. Yes. The quick headlines on that are that The Power of the Dog has the most nominations with 12, followed by Dune. Some good stuff that we're excited about, like Kristen Stewart getting nominated. Some other stuff that's weird. Like Don't Look Up
being up for Best Picture. Yeah.
All the Being the Ricardos acting nominations. Anyway, so go take a look for that. But of course, it wouldn't be the Oscars without the Razzies.
Yeah.
And these are some bullshit this year. I mean, more than usual, because picking Ben Affleck for worst actor for The Last Duel is just like clickbaity, shit-stirring trash.
Yeah, I've been saying for years, the Razzies are a real missed opportunity because, I think they started out with a sort of sense of fun and kind of poking a hole in the kind of pomposity of Oscar season. But they tend to go after really low-hanging fruit, and they will nominate like the same movie in every category. And it's like, it's lazy. Like if you're going to do it right and really dig in and find those hidden gems or hidden turds in this case that need the attention. And yeah, you're right. That's the Affleck thing just felt lazy.
It did. But there was one funny thing that they did where they had an entire category of just all the terrible Bruce Willis movies. Because I've seen and reviewed a couple of them.
Wow,
like
yeah.
I've seen Midnight in the Switchgrass and Cosmic Sin, but there's a whole bunch of other ones I had never even heard of.
If you've never gone to Nathan Rabin's Happy Place, the website for critic and cultural commentator Nathan Rabin, he is currently working his way through all of Bruce Willis's 2021 releases. So you might want to check those reviews out. He just posted one for All Out of Death. Is that what it's called?
That's not a real movie. That's a fake movie.
Air Supply never got around to that version, but anyway.
That is really cute. Anyway, your friend Seth Rogen said something that I think you'll probably agree with, given how I know you feel about Oscars and awards in general. He did this interview and he says that maybe people just don't care about the Oscars anymore, and that the film industry is the only one in which like they expect everybody else to care about their awards. He's like, the automotive industry doesn't make you care about their car awards. Does he have a point?
He does, actually. I mean, obviously ads will mention their JD Power and Associates, whatever. But no, I think he's totally right. And it was interesting reading that after reading a piece that ran on The Wrap this week where they talked about how movies don't get the box office bump that they used to get for the Oscars, partially because of just the way people watch movies now and how much of that happens at home, but just in terms of the sort of cultural impact that the Oscars entail. And I think Rogan has a point. I mean, there is something about the Academy Awards that harkens back to an era of like, my parents were in the Book of the Month club. And I think for a lot of people, like they needed somebody else to tell them, this is a thing you need to know about and that it's important. And for a long time, I think the Oscars sort of served that purpose. And nowadays, I think that there's less of that. I think that people are less sort of swayed by sort of cultural, voices from on high, be they critics or be they awards or whatever. Because people's, you always hear the thing every year, like, that year that Chris Rock hosted the Oscars and they went to the Magic Johnson Theater and interviewed people, and they did not care about the nominees. Those weren't movies that they were interested in. I think overall, that's kind of how a mass audience feels about the Oscars. And so at this point, it is mostly about the sort of within the film industry that you like me, you really like me, like having your peers vote on you for this honor. And I think obviously there's a whole industry of Oscar punditry that seems to have more to do with like handicapping and sports prediction than it does about like, aesthetics. So I'm not quite sure who the Oscars are for anymore. I guess there are still some people who use that as their barometer for what's good and what's worth seeing, but that number is certainly shrunk, and the ratings, indicate that, I think.
And award season is year round now. Punditry is a perennial sport, but also important. This actually does get viewers, and that is the Super Bowl. Alonso, are you aware that this weekend's the Super Bowl?
I am aware, only because I keep getting emails with allowing me to preview commercials,
Right. I've seen the one. There's one that Scarlett Johansson and Colin Jost did that I've seen a bit of, and there's one that Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen did.
I was
going to say
the Seth Rogen interview was in conjunction with his potato chip ad,
So, also Alonso, the Rams are in the Super Bowl, and it's happening here.
Yes.
Here at SoFi Stadium, the $6 billion long delayed stadium. So do you know who they're playing?
The Bengals.
Very good. Good. That's awesome.
I'm not completely turned off with this stuff, but I'll tell you, the fact that an LA team is playing in LA is like, if I weren't already cloistered in my apartment, this would be the kind of weekend I'd want to get the hell out of town,
Oh, well, you know what though? Apparently there are still tickets out there. Ticket prices are dropping. So if you feel the urge, that's like the kind of thing that you do not want to go watch in person. Like, it's the whole point of it is you hang out with people, you have a party.
Yeah, you make some Rotel dip.
Right. You watch the ads, you watch the halftime show, which is like Mary J. Blige and Eminem and all kinds of people. So anyway, that's this weekend. I know a lot of folks out there. I did a poll on our little poll page. A lot of folks out there said that they were going to watch the Super Bowl instead of, Marry Me or Death on the Nile. Or the most recent Liam Neesoning, which you saw.
Man. Yeah, my worst of 2022 contenders list just opened. He cracked open by Liam Neeson and Blacklight. Ugh.
Is it worse than the usual annual Liam Neesoning?
It is, and I say that as somebody who's seen pretty much all of them. I made the joke on KCRW that for the first 3 months of the year, you're going to get Medea and you're going to get Liam Neeson with a gun, and sometimes they're better than sometimes they're worse, and this is one of the worst of the Liam Neesons.
They each have a particular set of skills, though, do they not?
They certainly do, yes. And by the way, it's Puppy Bowl weekend. Let's be clear on that. I think that's the real source of excitement.
Yeah. So the Jurassic World Dominion trailer came out. I know you're not a fan of trailers, but this was the kind of thing that you kind of couldn't avoid yesterday on Twitter. This is the thing that wraps up the whole Jurassic saga, supposedly, and it brings back the original Jurassic Park characters with the Jurassic World people for one big mishmash of stuff, a hybrid breed, if you will.
Are we getting back like Jeff Goldblum's daughter?
Yes. I don't know. Jeff Goldblum
and Julianne Moore from The Lost World, or
no. you get your Laura Dern and your Sam Neill and your Jeff Goldblum all running from dinosaurs with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. So
look, that's three people that I want to get fat checks. So I'm not mad at that, but I've not seen the trailer.
Right, because it's the kind of thing that smacks of like what we didn't like about Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? Like, it's people from before that you knew. We brought them back. Look, see, here they are. You love them. I'm going to give the nostalgia a pass this time because I'm excited to see Laura Dern. I know, hypocritical of me. I know.
Academy Award winner Laura Dern.
Laura Dern. Okay, so do you see this whole thing that's happening with Futurama? This whole like brouhaha over Futurama. Have you seen this?
Yes. The original voice of Bender isn't coming back, won't come back, and they want to hire a sound-alike in his place.
So they're going to do a whole bunch of new Futurama episodes. 20 new episodes expected to come out in 2023. Like, the whole original cast is back, Billy West, Katie Seagal, but not John DiMaggio, who does the voice of Bender, who is crucial. Totally crucial. And he's a big part of the whole Matt Groening universe because he is the voice of King Zog on Disenchantment, which just came out. The season 4 of Disenchantment just came out this past week on Netflix. I know because my kid's been sitting on that couch back there binging it. And he's the voice of Zog, and Zog sounds like Bender, and that's great. So I guess, I don't know if they're lowballing him. I don't know if he's holding out for more money. I know that a casting call went out to do a Bender sound-alike, and the whole voice actor world is like, nobody go up for that because he's a legend and this is his role, and like give him what he wants, and voice actors don't get the kind of respect that they should. What do you think about this?
No, absolutely. It's true. And I think that voice actors, that is a very specific kind of work, and there are people who are great at it, and it is we've diminished in our appreciation of them in recent years because Shrek kicked off the whole of like, what if we got a bunch of famous people to do these voices instead, and so like you have your the late June Foray or Billy West, or people who like are really sort of masters of this craft, and they you wouldn't reboot other series that had a popular actor in them where that actor hadn't died and then decide, oh, well, we're not paying you, we're just going to bring in somebody else. Like, no, you want to get the gang back together. That's the whole point of watching the thing. I've never been a giant Futurama fan, so I don't know like the details, but I've seen a lot of people talking about the fact that apparently this show jumped networks so many times that they've already had like 4 finales. And the last one was apparently a really good one. Like it's like when people talk about rebooting a 6 Feet Under. It's like, no, that show had a perfect ending. Don't mess with that. And I've heard people say that about Futurama as well. So
Nick loves Futurama. Well. Nick loves Futurama. Nick loves Bender. And he said the same thing when I told him there were going to be new episodes. He's like, but it ended in a way that was totally fine and like wrapped it all up. Having said that, more Futurama is good. And this whole thing has spawned hashtag Bendergate. Pay the man what he wants. So there's that. Also, speaking of not paying people enough or at all, this really sad news that came out this week about how the April issues of several magazines, including Entertainment Weekly, People in Espanol, Parents, I want to say, is a whole bunch. The physical copy will be the last physical issue that they are printing of these magazines. And when you think about, In Style is one of them.
Oh, wow.
Entertainment Weekly, which in recent times has become a monthly publication, still called Entertainment Weekly. Think about how much when, you're growing up and learning about pop culture, like it was formative.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm an old fart, so I was in my 20s when that magazine started, but I was like every week glued to it, read it cover to cover. Like it absolutely was, whether I used it in a professional thing, like as a film festival, programmer, knowing what was going to be coming out in the coming months, or just as somebody who loved movies and TV and stuff, it was indispensable. And they had great writers, Owen Gleiberman and Lisa Schwartzbaum, I thought were really, important critics for me. Ty Burr, when he ran the home video section, picked the VHS reissue of Celine and Julie Go Boating as the best home video release of the year. And that's why I watched that movie for the first time, and it changed my life. It's a very important film to me now. So I mean, sadly, I stopped subscribing years ago because they fired a great many of the writers who really made that magazine good, and it just was kind of dying on the vine. But the fact that it's gone and the fact that print media is sort of disappearing around us, I find really sad. I mean, I started out in newspapers. I was an editor at The Advocate for 6 years. So like, newspapers and magazines mean a lot to me, and it's I'm sorry to see them go.
I too am a formerly ink-stained wretch. I began my career in newspapers as well, so I think it's a bummer too. We get the LA Times here. We subscribe. A physical paper comes to our driveway every morning. A few more things. We know how Bob Saget died, and this is really strange. His cause of death was apparently he hit his head before he went to bed, and whatever happened was so severe that it killed him. And he died in his sleep. It's really weird.
Concussed, and I believe he also had COVID, is what I read.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that. I know they said that there was no drug or alcohol use in play. It wasn't that they wanted to rule that out for sure. But it's just very, very sad. And it adds to how sad that story is. Brene Brown has returned to Spotify. Our long national nightmare is over. She wrote this whole blog post about this whole convoluted analogy about like what table you sit at in the cafeteria. And that made her okay with going back to Spotify.
Okay.
Anyway, so she's back. Steven Soderbergh did an interview about Kimi, his new movie, Kimi, which I know you saw, which we're planning to get to next week. A bunch of you folks asked for a review, so we'll for sure do that for you next week. But in this interview promoting Kimi, he talked about how he wouldn't do a superhero movie because superheroes don't have sex. Which is not true.
Is not entirely true. Yeah, we just had Eternals, and James Gunn was very vocally like, "Excuse me, sir." So it's like, I hate the let's ask tours about superhero movies stratagem that everybody seems to love now.
It makes news.
It does. Sadly, here we are talking about it. But yeah, I think Soderbergh might have. There's a way for him to say that he doesn't want to do these movies and even to talk about how they aren't sexual enough for him, but to call them not sexual at all is sadly not true.
People literally do it in front of us in Eternals.
Yes.
We see it. A couple more quick things. Leslie Jones says that she has been pressured to no longer tweet about the Winter Olympics, that NBC. She loves them and they love her. And who knows if it's NBC, who knows if it's the Olympic Committee, who knows who it is, but it's funny and it creates excitement and it's sort of, speaking from how we all feel watching figure skaters land, a quad Salchow or whatever it is. It's so,
I've not been watching the Olympics, but this whole thing just seems weirdly between the IOC and China. This just seems to be very strangely handled overall. My favorite joke somebody said about it was these Olympics have a real dinner you committed to a month ago and then forgot about energy.
Watching
just the sight of those, the nuclear cooling towers next to the ski jump is like, okay.
They're a thing to avoid. Ski away from them. A couple more things. You broke some news, Alonso, on your other podcast about some casting. You want to mention that?
No, I would have broken it if he'd answered the question. Reinaldo Marcus Green, who directed King Richard, came on Max Film this week. We're doing a Sidney Poitier tribute episode, and we watched Lilies of the Field. And at the end, he was talking about things he had coming up. He's got an HBO Max series that's coming up very soon. And then he said that he was doing the Bob Marley biopic, and that was the first I'd heard about it. And I said, "Oh, is that cast yet?" And he did not answer. But this morning it was announced that every time I try and say this name, it flies out of my head. Why?
Kingsley Ben-Adir.
Kingsley Ben-Adir, thank you, who played Malcolm X in One Night in Miami, who's also in the Disney Plus movie Noelle as the love interest to Anna Kendrick, is going to play Bob Marley. And so it's like, the music biopics are really stretching it thin these days, but I'm hoping that Mr. Green is going to watch Walk Hard first to know what not to do.
Oh, for sure. And looking at the films he's made, you'd think he would come at it from a more artful, creative, indie-minded perspective, right?
Yes.
Given of Monsters and Men, or was it just Monsters and Men?
Monsters and Men. I think.
That's right. Yeah, so he did that too.
Yeah.
And Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman are going to host the Spirit Awards. Is that the day before the Oscars still, or is it a different day again?
I think it's a different day. I think it's going to be in early March this year, and then the Oscars are at the end of March. But yeah, traditionally it's been a day before thing. But everything is topsy-turvy.
Everything is different. There'll be a hoot. And then a sad death this week. Legendary visual effects supervisor Douglas Trumbull, who worked on 2001 and Close Encounters and really important sci-fi films, died at the age of 79.
Yes, he also directed Silent Running and Brainstorm.
There you go.
So I got R.I.P. And we forgot to mention last week, R.I.P. Monica Vitti, movie star of the 60s. She was in L'Avventura and a lot of great Italian art house epics. She passed away as well. Thank you all for watching. Like this video. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. You get videos like this with zero commercial interruption. You get our TV recaps. Currently, we're wrapping up Boba Fett. We're talking about Peacemaker. We're talking about Gilded Age. We're talking about Pam and Tommy. It's just a wealth of goodies. And we're currently taking votes for our February Black Romance off the menu selection. It's neck and neck right now. It could go any way. So if you haven't voted yet, vote. If you aren't a subscriber who gets to vote, become one at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. Have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.